Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge. We are brought to you by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. Looking at the chat, CLE Fan, Fantasy Life, Kylie, Jeff Stenberg, Jen, thank you for being in here. Hit the like button. I see you, Chris Kish, Rick Funkin, and let's see how we did on the recap screen before we bring in the stars of the show. We go 4-2, another winning day. Just a lot of winning days this week, a lot of winning days this month. Frankly, the SportsLine picks go 2-0. A big shout out to Bruce Marshall for backing the Orioles in back-to-back days. Cash cow there. And Inter money line. Martin Green steps into the show with a pick. Bob steps into the show, hitting San Fran money line. And Amags missed his pick, but don't forget, he was strident as ever. That Matt Olson would hit a home run yesterday, and boom, Matt Olson goes the yard. You absolutely love to see it. So we go 4-2, but I know a lot of you took that Matt Olson prop as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got some baseball today. We've got the sniper for baseball. We got home run props, a baseball pick. But you know, it's Thursday night football, and we really lean in there. So get your questions in the chat. A lot of picks in the NFL. We got some SportsLine picks as well. You're gonna want to stick around because a lot of picks for tonight and this weekend. Let's bring in the stars of the show because we've got a lot to talk about and we've got just the people to do it. We got Matt Snyder, we got Mike McClure, we got PropStarz, we got Larry Hartstein. Larry and Proppy, you're back on the show after getting together for Monday Night Football in Atlantic City. PropStarz, I'm going to go to you first. How was it and how you feeling today?
It was a bit surreal. I'm feeling great, though, Sia. Yeah, Larry and I have known each other for, I believe, 5 years, and this was the first time that we got to meet face-to-face in person. We spent some great time together. We watched part of the Chargers versus the Raiders game, and then we even dabbled with some slots, so it was a blast getting to see Larry, and I look forward to hopefully meeting all of you guys as well sometime in the near future.
Larry, how was it? How was meeting up with PropStarz and getting to watch Monday Night Football with him?
It was so fun. It was also great to meet one of his childhood friends that he brought along, a guy he grew up with, a really cool guy. And I got an education on slot machines. That's one area of the casino that I'm not familiar with, but the bonus, the thing was going off. It was like exploding with lights, and it was about $400 a profit in 90 seconds. I'm not kidding. That's what he did.
That's pretty good stuff. Did his friend call him Lil Geppetto, PropStarz, or Alex?
Well, what's funny is my friend that was in attendance, Larry didn't know this, is someone that I used to rap with quite a bit. So it's a full circle moment there, Sia.
Proppy, it's been 5 years, and Mike McClure, Sniper, and I have been discussing that we really want to get some of those tracks. We need some of those tracks, maybe a little snippet. Sniper, wouldn't it be great to hear Lil Geppetto rapping? I mean, it's something we've been
absolutely waiting for. That could be our new lead-in music, right?
And we'd have to pay PropStarz royalties.
Yeah,
for that.
royalties.
We can talk to as attorney for PropStarz and the Early Edge and SportsLine. I can see if I can make that happen. Mike McClure, how you doing? We've got NFL tonight. We've got so many NFL picks. We're going to be answering a lot of your questions. I already see questions in the chat from the Twitter side and from the YouTube side. Appreciate that. Mike, how you feeling today?
Feeling good, Sia. Love a primetime football game. Never met one that I didn't enjoy. So I think this one could be a little more interesting than people may give it credit for. Is it interesting because the Dolphins are competitive, or is it interesting because it starts the fire sale? It'll be one of those two things, I think. So I think that'll be very interesting to track and follow, but fired up to be here, ready to go.
I found tonight's game to be really difficult to break down, Mike, on specifically the Dolphins side. I just think it's such a weird situation for Miami. There's so much unknown, I think, on the Miami side, but also on the Buffalo side. Here we see Ben has put up, courtesy of BetMGM, the money line, the spread, and the total. We're at 12.5 right now. It did bounce between 11.5, 12.5, a total of 49.5, and of course the money line, which nobody's taken here on the Buffalo side, minus 800, plus 575 for the Dolphins. Mike, I want to get to your pick to kick off the show, and it is a Dolphins play somewhat, but Proppy, you had some follow-up on what I said about this game being a little difficult to assess.
I couldn't agree more, Sia. Just to piggyback on that topic, anytime your running back basically leads the team in pretty much every receiving metric, things have gone south in South Beach. So, this Miami team has not played well, dead last in Pythagorean win theory. So they are the worst team in the NFL by a significant margin, according to most advanced metrics here. And I do believe, as Mike alluded to, it could be a fire sale if they don't show up tonight.
You can check off Pythagorean win theory on your bingo card. 5 minutes into the show. Mike McClure, we need a pick as we are 5 minutes into the show. Talk to me about the Dolphins. I like this quite a bit. A first half team total.
Yeah, give me the first half team total, over 9.5. It's not often for NFL teams that you're catching 9.5. Again, for those unfamiliar, touchdown and a field goal. Continue to harp on it this year early because it's a lot easier, in my opinion, to kick field goals right now. There's a little bit of change in the rule in terms of what the teams can do with the ball. The kickers are just getting better, stronger legs, and the average starting field position. So when you look at this spot, you talk about a team like Buffalo wins toss, extremely likely to defer as well. You could get the extra possession there. But if you're Miami, this is a must-win game, and they're very unlikely to win it, but where they should be prepared is out of the locker room. They can have scripted drives early. I think that this is a spot where they score, right? So I'm not saying that Buffalo's not going to win this game, not going to cover in this game, but the issue that I want to come back to with Miami, giving them the shot here until the fire sale starts, they're not injured. So, we're not talking about a situation where we don't have Tyreek Hill. We don't have Tua out there. Jalen Waddle is there. Devon Achane is there. The star athletes, the skill position players are there. Now, the timing has certainly been off, right? Now, Miami is a team that even when it's been Skylar Thompson at times in the playoffs, they played Buffalo with a relative level of success in terms of scoring points, keeping games competitive, right? So I like it. It's just a play on the number. If they played anywhere close to their baseline, this would be sitting at a standard 12.5, 13.5, probably 12.5, but certainly north of the 10.5. The fact that it's a cash ticket with just the single field goal and a touchdown and not needing either 2 touchdowns or 2 field goals, that's extremely appealing to me here. So let's go over 9.5 minus 102.
All right. We're going over 9.5 minus 102 for the Miami Dolphins in the first half here. Got some football questions, Thursday night football questions already in the chat, but Sniper, there's already a baseball question as well. And it's actually more of a play. I want to get you involved here because Liddy, who we love on this show, says Dodgers first 5 minus a half, minus 110. I got to tell you, I was watching Blake Snell yesterday. I just kind of threw in a first 5 minus a half play at even money, and that came in. Snell looked so good. I was really impressed there. Do we like the Dodgers first 5 minus a half tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it's against Logan Webb. It's always difficult because you see Logan Webb, but he's so much better at home than he is on the road. And this is on the road in Dodger Stadium, and the Dodgers are familiar with him. So, yeah, I believe that the Dodgers can have a lead through 5. The Dodgers rotation looks really, really good for the playoffs. The bullpen, not so much, but they have excess rotation pitchers that they can put in the bullpen. One of the most interesting things heading to the playoffs for me is which starting pitchers they're going to put in the bullpen. Specifically, does that include Shohei Ohtani? Do you want to deal with the logistics of sending him down to the bullpen in the middle of the game to get him ready when his spot in the batting order might be coming up when you need him to get ready, and how you deal with that? That could be really, really interesting. Did you want me to go straight into my picks now?
Actually, yeah, I think so. I was distracted by the comments before you go. Zoom71 says, are you worried about Jaden Daniels? Knee looks iffy. Yes, I am actually quite worried about Jaden Daniels, particularly this week. We can get into a little bit of that later, maybe even on the prop show tomorrow, PropStarz with you and me. I actually have a pick in the Cowboys-Bears game for this show, but I'm going to have a lot of props in that game tomorrow on the prop show as well. I just want everybody to know that. But let's continue with baseball before we get back to football, Sniper.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the Blue Jays there in Tampa, over 4.5 on the team total, over 4.5 runs for this game. This is the 3rd best home run park in baseball during the day. The ball absolutely flies in that ballpark down in Tampa anyway. It's always so hot and muggy. I'm also fading Shane Baz, 6.28 ERA at home this season, a 7.42 ERA in the second half, a 5.51 day game ERA. Everything lines up for the Blue Jays. I know they only scored 1 run last night, but that makes me like it even more because this is too good of an offense to be held down 2 straight days. They averaged 5.68 runs per game in the second half, even with only scoring 1 last night. So I love the Blue Jays in this spot. We have a ton of comments in the chat. One that stuck out to me is John pointed out Cubs 14-1. I don't know if he means to win the World Series or to get to the World Series. Because they are going to likely avoid the Phillies and Dodgers, their side of the bracket. It looks like the Cubs are going to play the Padres at home in the wild card series and then at Brewers in the NLDS. And yeah, I'm not that scared of the Brewers in the playoffs. The Cubs have really gotten their pitching set up. Council's got it in a good situation with the bullpen. Matthew Boyd has been shaky the last 7-8 starts, but other than that, Cade Horton looks great. Imanaga's in good shape. The bullpen is really falling into place. So, I like that one a lot. I also saw Tarek Skubal to get the win. Somebody put that in there. That was one that I really looked at strongly because the Tigers need this so badly. It's Tarek Skubal. But the Guardians are absolutely surging, and Skubal had to leave last start with an issue in his side. I bet you that they have a zero tolerance with him in terms of if you feel anything at all, tell us and we're pulling you because they need him for the playoffs. The other problem is they're trying to kind of walk the tightrope because the Tigers only have a 4.5 game lead, and they have 4 games left against the Guardians. So while the Guardians can't overtake them just with the head-to-heads, they can really make them sweat it out here. So that one was a big stay away for me today. It's so intriguing on every which way that you look at it.
That really is intriguing because I seem to recall him exiting his start last week, and it was like tightness on his left side, and I was like,
You got no oblique.
You don't want that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something we have to monitor. But yeah, to record the win, just to make sure everyone, including myself, are educated there, they have to go a full 5, right?
He has to go 5 innings.
So being up, 4-0 in the 4th, and then he exits, you don't have your win recorded there. So that's something that people need to identify. We've already got so many football questions in here. Chris Diorio, who we know and love for this show, says, I feel like everyone in the world is on Dalton Kincaid tonight for first touchdown and receptions. We'll get to that question later because I think it's an important one. We will have first touchdowns to give out on this show as well. But PropStarz, before we get to so many more picks for Thursday night football, you've got a future to give out, but you've also got 2 picks that I trust we'll also hear about on the prop show tomorrow. They involve Tyler Warren and Drake London.
Indeed, Sia. Yeah, and if you recall last week around this time, I was talking about Tyler Warren, specifically giving out him to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. The odds were plus 650. He was either 4th or 5th, shortest odds in that category. As I predicted, he is now the front runner in the category. It's moved from plus 650 to currently around plus 320.
That was quick. Good job.
350. Thank you, Sia. So yeah, I love Tyler Warren. There is a lot to like with Tyler Warren. I'm also kicking myself for not having more shares of him in fantasy, but let's go over 44.5 receiving yards for Tyler Warren. This is a disrespectful line to the RPO king right now in the NFL, Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren's going to lead the league in receiving yards and receptions at tight end. He's going to have a Brock Bowers-esque season if he stays healthy in this Colts offense. He is the clear focal point of this revamped Colts passing attack. I just love his utilization, using him in the RPO. Shane Steichen, Jim Bob Cooter. I love the Colts. Speaking of the Colts, credit to Sia, actually, who was backing the Colts big time heading into the season. I love the Colts to win this division. We talked about the Pythagorean win theory and how bad and brutal the Dolphins have been. The Colts are rated the second best team in the NFL thus far. Well, that may be, I might pump the brakes a little bit there, but I certainly think this Colts team right now is the class of this division. And the fact that you can still get them to win the AFC South at plus money, I think is tremendous value here. They're sitting at 2-0. The next best team is a 1-1 Jaguars team. I love what I've seen from the Colts offensively. I don't even think they play to their potential defensively yet either. They're healthy. Just a lot going for them. Oh, by the way, they're playing Tennessee this week as well. So I think a 3-0 start is likely in the cards for this Colts team. So very impressed with them, all phases. I think they're going to win this division. I think this is a 10 to 12 win football team as well. So love the Colts. I'm backing them big time to win. And then another prop that I love, I'm fading Drake London. I'm going under 67.5 receiving yards for London, who hasn't really been on the same page with Michael Penix. The Falcons' passing attack hasn't looked particularly good, and then they play the Carolina Panthers. This is a tough matchup. It's twofold. I actually think the Panthers cover opposing wide receivers fairly well. They've really limited wide receivers, which in part has been because of game script. But when we talk about game script, they're going to have we know the Falcons are going to run the football. They're a run-first offense, and we're going to see plenty of Bijan Robinson versus this Carolina run defense, which has really struggled. So it's a combination of a difficult matchup, in my opinion, much more that it meets the eye, coupled with a likely game script that's not going to favor a high-volume passing attack from the Falcons. I doubt the Panthers are in a position where they're really going to challenge and push Atlanta to have to air the ball out a ton. Drake London has really struggled from an efficiency standpoint this season. So I just don't think we're going to see 10 to 12 plus targets in most scenarios and most game scripts here. So I'm going to fade Drake London under 67.5 receiving yards. We're going over 44.5 receiving yards for Tyler Warren. That's a 1.5 unit play from yours over here, by the way. And we're backing the Colts to win the AFC South.
I'll say this about the Colts. I mean, I've been doing this show and I've been betting for, more than a couple of decades at this point. And I've been doing this show for 5 years with you all. And I've given out some bad takes, but let me just say this, because I don't like to criticize bad takes, because again, we all give them out. But when Daniel Jones was named the starter, and there were people out there that were verbalizing and writing on Twitter, it's clear that the Colts are just giving up on their season to get like a number one pick next year. That had to have been one of the worst takes I've ever heard in my entire life. And it's not just because I think Danny Dimes is a little bit better than people think. I mean, that's kind of more irrelevant to the point. Like, there's no coach in the world that's giving up on a season and giving up on his 53-man roster before they even walk on the field for week one. It's just such a silly take. And it's just, it's very frustrating that escalated and snowballed into like basically the mainstream take when Anthony Richardson of all quarterbacks was getting benched. I just thought that was really silly. And so now the Colts are actually in a position to win the AFC South. We'll see if they actually do, but Proppy plus 130, certainly a decent number there. Mike, I want to ask you, we've got so many more picks to get to, but real quick, when it comes to the AFC South, would you say that the Colts are probably the front runner at this point, with the Texans falling and Jacksonville being Jacksonville?
I like the Colts. I think this division is wide open still. Yeah. I don't disagree with anything at them being a front runner, but man, I think it's really, really wide open. While I've been on Danny Dimes a little bit early this season, I am still in the camp that I would like to see it kind of sustained for 6, 7, 8 weeks before I'm ready to really go crown them a front runner. But if they can stay healthy, I do think that they're a good team and potentially could make the playoffs. But personally, I want no part of this division, because I could make the argument for any of those three teams to go ahead and win it at this point.
Right. Any of those teams other than the Tennessee Titans. And for the record, I'm not even saying Daniel Jones is that good. I'm just saying he's better and more consistent, and he offers a more consistent, outlook for the head coach than Anthony Richardson. Larry, go ahead.
He has proven that if he's in the right situation with the right coaching and the right pieces around him, that he can get a team to the playoffs. So, I mean, we've seen it. It wasn't the dominant theme of his Giants career, but there was an entire season where he was very effective.
Fair enough. All right, let's get to some more. We have so many SportsLine picks, but I do want to read a BetMGM a BetMGM promo, because you're going to want to take advantage of this tonight. BetMGM players will receive a no-sweat token to apply to any bet on pro football. To use the token, add a pro football wager to your bet slip. You'll receive a bonus bet back if your wager that was made with the token loses, only at BetMGM. All right, we got to check out these picks, these SportsLine picks, because we've got a lot of them, and a lot of them pertain to Thursday night football. Josh Allen over 26.5 rush yards at -120, says Matt Severance. Tyreek Hill over 5.5 receptions, -108, says Will Brinson. Yusei Kikuchi under 16.5 outs, -133, courtesy of Amags. Then we go from Wednesday's show, Danny Brasco. Josh Allen over 36.5, longest completion, -108. And then finally, don't forget, we got college football tonight. Taft Gant says Charlotte plus 2.5 at even money, or we have -108 there as well. But either way, Charlotte plus 2.5. That one courtesy of Taft Gant. We've got still home run props to get to. We've got a Sunday play that I have. Larry, you've got a play for tonight, and we've got some Q&A in the chat. If you have questions about baseball or Thursday night football, put them in the chat. We're going to get to all of it right after this message from our partners.
Sunday, you can count on CBS Sports getting down with a fantastic slate of games. But first, a little fun when we throw it back to celebrate 50 years of the NFL today. Count on Sunday with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
We're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. Larry, I've got a pick for Sunday, but let's get some picks for Thursday in there. We already have so many, courtesy of the SportsLine crew and what we just heard from Mike McClure. But talk to me about your Bills team total.
Yeah, I like them over 30.5. You're going to see a lot of 31.5s in the market. Try to find the 30.5 because that is a key number. I think they get to 35. Personally, they've put up 71 so far. They didn't do anything in the fourth quarter against the Jets because they didn't have to. So I agree with Mike that the Dolphins offense, came alive last week, and I believe they're going to do enough to keep the Bills pushing. And the Dolphins gave up scores on all 7 possessions against the Colts, 5 of 7 against the Patriots that did not include kneel downs. This is the worst pass defense in the league, except for the Bears. It is the worst pass defense in the league. They're missing their starting corner, Duck. They're missing Melifonwu, their starting safety. In my mind, the Bills can name their offensive total. And I think there is an outcome that's possible, like that Thursday night I was talking about in the chat, when Brandon Staley lost his team and gave up 63 points to the Raiders. I think something like that is possible tonight, and we get a 50-20 type of score.
KC3 says, I like it, Larry. I'm taking the game over 50. We're going to get to some of those questions. Let's start that question, Ben, because I do want to talk about totals. But before I do that, let me give out my pick, and then we're going to do the MLB home run props, and then we're going to get to your Q&A on Thursday Night Football. Before I give out my pick for Sunday, I want to remind everybody to put your favorite pick for Sunday, or it can be for Monday Night Football, for the group ride. So again, we're making an early edge group NFL bet for week 3. To help us, comment on Spotify or YouTube with an NFL bet that you think we should ride together for week 3 of the NFL. On Friday, we'll choose our favorite 3 to 4 bets and put it to a vote during the show in the chat. Again, we'll vote on it during BPE Friday tomorrow morning. Put your favorite bet for Sunday, or maybe you have a couple bets that you like, in the YouTube comments or in the Spotify comments so we can nominate that for the group ride for week 3. Maybe you'll want to nominate this bet. Mike, I know you like this bet because I believe we did a show together Monday. I think I'm recalling correctly that you like the Cowboys money line here. I like them as well. And I probably missed the best number, Mike, because it was Cowboys plus 1.5. And I think you can still find that plus 1.5 somewhere. But generally speaking, it's moved to Cowboys -1 or what you can get here, Cowboys money line at -108. I mean, listen, I faded the Bears in a big way. It was my favorite bet last week. It was the first bet I put out on SportsLine when they played Detroit. They're at home. They're against the Dallas team. It's a different scenario, obviously, than going to Detroit. But I just have no belief in this Bears team. I do think they'll be able to move the ball, but I don't think they'll be able to move it any better than Dallas can move it on this defense. And Larry just talked about some of the injuries that the Miami Dolphins have for Thursday Night Football. Well, the Bears have some really serious injuries as well, including Jalen Johnson in that secondary. And I just don't see this Bears defense stopping the Dallas Cowboys offense, especially when you consider the Dallas Cowboys offense is way more two-dimensional with at least a semblance of a run game than the Chicago Bears. You look at the Bears defense and the Cowboys defense, it's fair to call that a wash, especially with the Cowboys on the road. But then you turn the page to what these teams have on offense, and I just don't trust Caleb Williams for 4 quarters. And I very much trust Dak Prescott for 4 quarters. I think he's going to take a lot of deep shots. You'll hear about that more on the prop show tomorrow. I think George Pickens is going to have a nice day, specifically CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson. And I think Javonte Williams, yards per carry will be decent. Give me Cowboys money line on the road. I just think they're the better team, especially as the Bears are constituted right now with their injuries. Again, maybe that's one of your group ride bets. We'll see what you guys end up nominating. But let's transition before we go back to football. Let's transition to baseball. Let's look at the MLB home run props. And we've got Aaron Judge. This is crazy. Aaron Judge plus 130 says the SportsLine model. The real odds are plus 240, which for the record isn't that great either. But this is a pretty big disparity. And Sniper, I got to get your comments on that. Joe Adell plus 390 versus plus 554. And Riley Green plus 390 versus plus 450. Sniper, your response.
Yeah, Aaron Judge's career in Baltimore, he has a 756 slugging percentage in that ballpark, 26 home runs and only 205 at-bats there. He absolutely loves hitting there, so that makes sense. It's not that difficult of a matchup there. Also, Riley Green against Tanner Bybee. Tanner Bybee has a 5.42 ERA on the road this year. Righty-lefty matchup there, Riley Green at home. So that one makes a lot of sense as well. Joe Adell is in Milwaukee, by the way, for those curious.
All right. Mike, talk to me about, before we get to the Thursday night football questions, was I right? Did you, because people will want to know, like, do you like the Cowboys as well?
I do. Look, we're at this spot where it's easy to overreact to what you've seen in the NFL. The first, I would say, week 2 through 4, big overreaction period. I'm putting a little more stock in what I saw from Dallas against the Philadelphia Eagles in that first game than I am against the Giants. If you watch that Giants-Cowboys game in the dome in the controlled environment, things just kind of got loose and a little weird on both sides. Russell Wilson throwing for 450 yards, a lot of it going to an elite wide receiver in Malik Neighbors. I just think Dallas is a little better there. So when I look at Chicago, they're 26th offensively and 28th defensively, or 28th offensively, 26th defensively in terms of EPA per play so far this season. I just think that Dallas is going to grade out as better than the 31st defense in the season. But I'm pretty confident the Bears right now are going to be that bottom 5, bottom 10 kind of team. So for me, I like the Cowboys. I made them a slight road favorite here, -1.5.
All right. So I'm on the Cowboys money line. It appears to be endorsed by Mike McClure. Let's get to some questions, and we'll do baseball questions and we'll do NFL questions here. And this one is from somebody on Twitter, and I appreciate the Twitter questions. I think some people on Twitter don't realize they can ask questions on Twitter. What I will say is, A, thank you for asking the question, and B, make sure you jump over to YouTube and at least subscribe to the YouTube channel. And of course, you can jump into the YouTube chat as well. This question, I don't see a name. It says, what do y'all think about Dalton Kincaid over receptions? Proppy, I want to go to you first. I think receptions are tricky with the Bills for obvious reasons. What do you think of his over receptions, which honestly, you got to put the number that you're seeing, but I'm guessing it's 3.5. Any thoughts there, Proppy?
This offense right now, Josh Allen spreads the ball out so much. They don't really have a number one option in the passing game. They're also very run heavy. They also like to pull their starters when they get a comfortable lead, which I think a lot of scenarios or potential outcomes in this game where Buffalo's up by, double digits heading into the third quarter. So really hard to back any of the Bills pass catchers, in my opinion. Just not enough of a floor as far as I'm concerned. So I was very high on Dalton Kincaid coming into the season, or at least higher than I think the consensus was on him. But yeah, I'm having a hard time backing any Buffalo pass catcher tonight.
Larry, Rick Funcannon. Oh, go ahead, Larry.
Well, it's just very good plus money to go over 3.5. It is a good matchup. He's done well against the Dolphins. They play the cover 2 a lot, which leaves the middle open for him. So I do like him tonight. I probably prefer the yards, though, than going for 4 catches.
Does anybody have any interest in, because we're going to get to first touchdowns in a second, spoiler alert on what mine's going to be. Dawson Knox is on the field, I think, more than people expected. I'm not saying he's going to take a lot from Dalton Kincaid, but hand up, does anybody like Dawson Knox tonight in any capacity? Go ahead, Proppy.
I mean, he's outsnapped Dalton Kincaid this season, and that's not an accident. So it's bullish as you want to be regarding Kincaid. The fact that he's just not on the field for even 50% of the snaps is highly concerning. So.
And that could change. I mean, depending on game script, like with the Jets game, it's a little weird how that one played out. But you're right. I mean, Dawson Knox is getting as many, if not a touch more, than Dalton Kincaid. Let's go to Rick Funcannon. Larry, I'll go to you on this one. He says, I've got Tua interceptions. I don't know what Buckets Coin says here, but he parlayed that Tua over a half an interception with Josh Allen over 1.5 passing touchdowns. It's plus 150. Any thoughts, Larry?
I like that. I would think maybe you would get a little better price somewhere else on that combo. Yeah. But I think both will happen. This is the easiest pass defense that Josh Allen is going to face, currently constituted. So, maybe they get up big and he doesn't need to throw. But early in the game, he's going to do whatever he wants.
It's interesting, Mike, because I think the Bills can do it kind of however they want, through the air or through the ground. And we know they like to run the ball as well. And this leads to the next question. Samuel Gallego says, Bills first half over 16.5. We know you like the Miami Dolphins first half over. This is a pretty high number. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a high number. I don't hate it. I think there's definitely a scenario they get there. I think there's a scenario that they're approaching Larry's 30 at half, to be frank with you. I'm not going to play it at this number. Generally, anything north of 2 touchdowns is just the variance in the league. Who gets the opening kickoff matters a lot in some of those key numbers. But I think you kind of answered the question yourself when you said they can do it however they want. There's a shot here that they come out just running the football, taking 6, 7, 8 minutes off the clock and have limited possessions, right? So I would not mess with it there. I would much rather have a full game team total on that side, knowing that if they are getting out to a lead, Miami's throwing more, that's where you're going to get the interceptions, things like that. So if you want to isolate Buffalo, it would be late or for a full game. If you want to isolate anything optimism on Miami, I would do it early.
You know, what's interesting, if I'm the Dolphins, I want to keep my defense off the field, and I want to just try to establish the short area passing game and the running game as much as I possibly can early. And if they can do that, which I actually think they can early, as long as it's a neutral game script, they can keep that clock running. PropStarz, go ahead.
Miami's actually run the second fewest plays in the NFL this season, so they're having serious trouble sustaining drives here because of the lack of the running game. Devon Achane has played well. If you look at his utilization, they're really using him creatively as far as his pass catching is concerned, but running the football, he's had 18 rushing attempts through 2 games. So just things have not gone well. Tua is playing horribly out of all the starting quarterbacks. He's ranked 31st out of 34 quarterbacks this season from an efficiency standpoint, EPA. So, yeah, things have not looked good for Miami. I have a hard time seeing that suddenly shifting versus a team as good as Buffalo. Buffalo's up for this game. So that's why it's really hard for me to back either team, just knowing that I think a competitive game script is unlikely.
PropStarz, I know you don't like receiving props, and obviously Achane's is going to be inflated and probably too inflated, but this is the type of running back / air quotes, wide receiver that you would at least give a look at, maybe as rushing and receiving props or receiving props isolated.
There are exceptions, and Devon Achane is one of those exceptions because his target share is so consistent. He's been the leading receiver for Miami. He's got a lot of first read targets, which you almost never see, like above 10% for the running back position. So his utilization in this offense, the way that Mike McDaniel's deploying him all over the place and Tua's targeting him, I do like him as a receiver. I have more confidence, frankly, in him than Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill to catch passes in this offense right now. So if there was a running back I was going to back in the receiving game right now, it certainly would be Achane.
Mike, I know we're doing fantasy football today, DFS later today. It'll be released between probably noon and 1 o'clock today. But if I'm doing a showdown lineup, I feel like Achane at captain might make some sense just because of his volume and him being on the field. Any commentary there?
Yeah, I like Achane a lot tonight. As far as DFS captains, for me, I think that if there's any level of success, it'd be Tua stacks as well, just Tua captains. Mm-hmm. They almost got there last week. I know this is a DFS comment there basically, but he was dangerously close to having 3 touchdowns and 3 100-yard receivers with Tyreek, Achane, and Waddle. Waddle was the low guy there at 68 yards, but had a touchdown. When Miami, it's a team that when they're right, they're going to be very explosive offensively. And when they're not, they're not. But I'm willing to give them a shot here, at least for the half of this game.
By the way, we've got a lot of baseball questions that Sniper I'm about to get to with you. Let me just read off a couple of more football questions or comments here. Big Cheesy says, James Cook anytime touchdown plus Keon Coleman over 42.5 receiving yards plus Tua over half an interception plus 350. Anybody have any commentary there? I feel like Keon Coleman is the only part of this. I mean, 2 interception can be iffy there too. Anybody like this? Plus 350, a pretty fun number from Big Cheesy.
My only comment is I would be careful with Buffalo pass catchers out of just necessity, right? I mean, go look at the Jets game, right? Go look at their game log from the Jets game. I know we love what Coleman was able to do in those desperation kind of situations too against the Baltimore Ravens. We are not projecting that at all for Buffalo tonight, right? We're projecting relatively smooth sailing, and then that typically is like no one catching more than 4 passes, nobody going more than 50, 55 yards at most. I know we see the number 42, but is it going to go there? I personally would be very cautious with those.
I agree with Mike here as well. I think Buffalo, it's fairly evident at this point. It was the case last year, and this is carried over. They do not have a true number one option with their tight end. Wide receivers. So we don't know where the targets are going to go. In neutral game environments, they are also extremely run heavy. On top of that, they play very slow and methodical as well. So they like to grind teams, have very long drives, and focus on running the football. So it's just very difficult to know where those targets are going to be distributed. So it's very difficult, in my opinion, to back any Buffalo pass catcher here.
And for the record, I know that Khalil Shakir's snap share dropped significantly in week 2, but in my eyes, over the long term, he's still the number one receiver here, and he could reassume that position right here in week 3 as just the comfortable target for Josh Allen. So I'm not really sold on Keon Coleman like being that guy. We need to take a look. I could be wrong about that, of course. Let's transition real quick to baseball. We're going to do some first touchdowns. We'll wrap up with some questions before the recap screen. Padres Mets over 9, says Taj Omari L. It's -102 over at BetMGM. Sniper.
Yes. Jonah Tong has been terrible so far for the Mets, and Randy Vasquez, it can really be gotten to, especially via the walk. He's very prone to walking guys. Let's say he puts on Juan Soto in front of Pete Alonso, all of a sudden you have big issues. So yes, I like that over. I was actually thinking about playing that before I zeroed in on just the Blue Jays over.
Jesse Long, this is correlated with that play. He says, Sniper, thoughts on Mets team total over 4.5?
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
And Padres Jays money line parlay, says Jesse B. It's around +300. Padres Blue Jays money line parlay.
I could see that. The only thing is, like, as I said in the chat, I don't know how much I trust the Padres. They're 9-13 in their last 22 games, and 5 of those wins came against the Rockies. So it's a little bit more. I know they won last night, but it's more difficult for me to trust the Padres on that leg.
I think we covered this question. Maybe this person came in late. We'll transition back to football, and we're going to put up our first touchdowns in just a second. We covered Dalton Kincaid receptions, right? Because there was a question about that. And I think PropStarz, our general consensus there was, like, again, he's a pass catcher. Dawson Knox has been on the field just as much, if not a little bit more. Probably not something you're willing to put your money on.
He's just not drawing targets in the offense, frankly. So it's just really hard to back him. Do I think he's talented? Absolutely. And if I would love it if he was utilized more, but he's just not drawing targets when he's on the field, and he's on the field for less than 50% of the snaps. Couple that with a game script where they're likely going to be run heavy. So very hard, in my opinion, to back Dalton Kincaid or anything. Okay. But he sort of represents why that is.
Larry, if you had to pinpoint a pass catcher that would be involved, like if I just held your feet to the fire and I said, you got to pick one that Josh Allen's going to lean on a little bit here. Like, again, it's tough to pick, and I'm sorry I'm even asking you the question, but does anybody come to mind?
Yeah, I like Shakir tonight just because he did nothing last week. 1 catch for 12 yards, had a monster game in week 1. He's the quickest guy. I think he's going to get loose. I don't think they can tackle him in the secondary there. So he's the guy. But yeah, it's not a prop that I'm playing, but that's my feeling on who goes off tonight.
I totally agree. I think it's Shakir. I still think he's the number one most reliable receiver for Josh Allen, and I love what he can do in terms of finding the soft spot in the zone and getting loose after the catch. All right, let's take a look at our first touchdown scores. Sniper, did you get involved in this one too? Did you send one in? Let's start with you. Oh, it's Keon Coleman. Talk to me.
I grabbed Keon Coleman basically just because I have him in fantasy. So that was about it. Hopefully that number's not too low here. I don't want to get kicked. Does it have to be plus over 1,000 to be acceptable here?
Yes, but
damn. All right.
But this is close. But first of all, you're a baseball guy. This is close enough, and I bet you we can find a plus 1,000 somewhere. Okay. Talk to me about. Okay, so Larry, Khalil Shakir. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a bad secondary. The separation numbers are pretty striking in terms of how open guys are getting. They're not getting home with the pressure either, which is their only strength as a defense. And I just think Shakir is the most talented. He's the quickest, and I think he breaks out.
And Proppy, I mean, one of the pass catchers we haven't even mentioned who could have some impact in this game, of course, is Joshua Palmer.
He's a very effective downfield receiver. So again, he's likely to get some big plays here. So you could basically throw a dart at any of the Bills pass catchers for the first TD. But yeah, just considering his role in the offense, kind of similar to what they wanted with Gabe Davis, but he's a more effective player when Gabe Davis was that deep threat for Buffalo. That's the role that Joshua Palmer has in this offense. So I do think he's likely to have some big plays and potentially a touchdown as well.
Well, Mike, before we get to your play, which is on the other side, I do want to give out mine because PropStarz, you're right. I think when it comes to the Bills pass catchers, we're throwing darts. So I may as well throw a dart on somebody who's at much longer odds, right? At plus 2,500, I'm going to take Dawson Knox. And we know we've been doing this a long time. We know it's the backup tight end, right? It's the Donald Parhams of the world that sometimes get these first early looks in the end zone, just people not really paying attention to him. And Knox is a guy, again, that I think is on the field a lot more than people think. And I think there's a reason for that, not just because of his blocking prowess, but because his ability to catch balls and get open in the end zone. So give me Dawson Knox at plus 2,500. We're going the other way. We're going to the Dolphins, Mike McClure, Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, going to go Tyreek. Just a play on the number. And generally, I think that you can kind of understand why numbers are going to be shaded to Buffalo. Are they more likely to score first? Yeah, definitely. But when you're talking about, double-digit road underdog, numbers move a little bit the other way, a little bit too much, because you talk about scoring the first touchdown, not an anytime touchdown. I think as the road team here, they're just as likely, if not more likely, to get the ball first. I think that this is a spot where they come out scripted drives. They take shots deep. It's more of a desperation kind of situation, right? So Tyreek Hill is actually, even though you think about how the creative ways they get him the ball around the line of scrimmage, he still has a very large ADOT in terms of the average depth of target, one of the best in the NFL on guys that have run 50-plus routes so far this season. I think they take a shot here with him. I think we get a big play from Tyreek, not necessarily coming from within the red zone. Yes, give me Tyreek Hill plus 1,300. And I will say I think that there's a little bit of meat on the bone if you like his longest reception at 23.5 or 22.5.
That's Tyreek Hill's longest reception number?
Yes, it is.
I don't hate that at all.
It used to be 28.5 all the way to 31.5.
Yeah. I like that quite. Anybody else have a commentary there? I mean, the idea that Tyreek Hill can find a loose spot in the zone or just beat somebody downfield with this Bills secondary, I feel like that's a pretty solid play. So that might be something I'll ride in like an SGP, for example, not an official play, but something I'll include there. Anybody else before we get to the recap screen that we need to address? Any Sniper, any baseball questions that I failed to get to you, or Larry, any football questions, Proppy?
I believe I answered as many as I could in the chat. So we're good.
No, I had mentioned in the chat, Alex and I used Buffalo in our survivors. So in Circa. So if for some reason they lose, you won't be, I may not be here on Monday.
Proppy, before you respond to that, there's a question about Matt Prater over 1.5 field goals. Do you have any comments on that? I don't usually look at field goal props. And what else were you going to say there?
I defer to the great Eric Cohen, who is in the SportsLine Discord, for any kicker-related questions there. So outside of my wheelhouse, I would also like to mention that at 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, you will see Sia and I with Uncle Dave, Claudia Bellafato, doing our prop show. It's an hour long, basically. We really get into the weeds here. We had a great show and good results last week, so hopefully we keep the momentum rolling, and I'm really looking forward to tomorrow.
And I'll say this because we've got a lot of people, almost 500 just watching on YouTube, a lot more on Twitter. If you have questions that you want to ask us, because that show is on the network, so it's not live, and we understand that component is lost, at least for now. If you have questions you want us to answer on that show, tweet at us and let us know those questions beforehand. I'm doing that for Fantasy Football Today DFS as well, since that show isn't live at the moment. We put it out on the SportsLine YouTube channel right after we record it. But the point is, if you have questions or plays you want us to talk about or address, let us know on social media, on Twitter, and we can actually give you a shout out on those shows and address those questions. So that's something we still want to have as a part of these shows that we're doing. All right, I think it's time to look at the recap screen. As Mike and I need to get out of here, we got to do FFT DFS. Make sure you subscribe to that as well. Cowboys money line for me on Sunday at -108. Bills team total over 30.5, -130, says Larry Hartstein. Blue Jays over 4.5 at +105, says the Sniper. Dolphins first half team total over 9.5 at -102. That one's from Mike McClure. And a bevy of props here. Some you'll see on the prop show tomorrow at 1 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. PropStarz says Tyler Warren over 44.5 receiving yards. Drake London under 67.5 receiving yards. And a future Colts to win the AFC South at +130. A lot more picks here. SportsLine picks. Josh Allen over 26.5 rushing yards at -120, says Matt Severance. Tyreek Hill over 5.5 receptions at -108 from Will Brinson. Yusei Kikuchi under 16.5 outs at -133 from Amags. And from Wednesday's show, Josh Allen over 36.5 longest completion -108, says Danny Brasco. And Charlotte, college football tonight. Charlotte +2.5 at even money from our guy Taft Gant. It's Gant with 2 T's, folks. MLB home run plays. Aaron Judge, Joe Adell, and Riley Green. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope we answered most of your questions here, including your first touchdown scores. You see the graphic here. Dawson Knox, Khalil Shakir, Joshua Palmer, Keon Coleman, and Tyreek Hill. What a great show. What a great chat. What a great list of questions from everybody and comments and plays. We got to get you out of here. We got to get out of here ourselves. A lot more content coming on this channel and on CBS Sports Network. So make sure you're dialed in. A big thank you to Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. A big thank you to Larry, PropStarz, Mike McClure, and the Sniper. Ladies and gentlemen, a big shout out to EC, by the way. Who gave the EC shout out? That was PropStarz. So I'll finish with 2 taglines here. 1, let's hit it big. And 2, we rest our case.